Now to some new clues into the death of a teen whose body was found in the trunk of singer David. A private investigator digging into the timeline of events.
But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her. And it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind. There are some other items that were found at the house that weren't taken during the search warrant. And, search warrants are limited, right? That they can't just go take everything. It's what the judge, and we don't know how broad that search warrant was because we haven't seen it, and that's what we'd like to see. But there were some things that were not taken into custody of LAPD that we think are significant, and including digital media and some other things that really help nail down timeline and things like that.
This whole David mess just keeps getting wilder by the day. Every sunrise brings a fresh twist, and nobody saw this storm coming. Now there's talk spreading fast that Celeste's family isn't just heartbroken. They're gearing up for a major legal strike. Not just a statement, but a full-blown lawsuit that could pull in David's label, Darkroom, and even Interscope itself. Nothing's official yet, Small, let's be real about that. But the silence surrounding this case is way too heavy. The missing footage, the shaky details, the random inconsistencies, it's all pointing to something brewing in the dark, and if the truth finally hits daylight, it's gonna shake the entire industry. Darkroom, Interscope, quiet. No press statement, no social media response, not even a soft PR cleanup to cool the flames. The only person who's spoken is David's manager, Josh Marshall, who came out swinging, saying David had nothing to do with Celeste Rivas Hernandez's passing. But after that one line, silence.
Which does add up with their Discord messages of her complaining about her parents and him saying, "Don't worry, I'll fix it."
We finally know who did it. We finally know what happened in this case. We finally know who was the last person to drive the car that Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in.
And when the silence gets that thick, people start creating their own version of the truth. And honestly, those stories don't paint a good picture, because now behind the scenes, whispers are saying what's coming next might be even darker than any lawsuit. Alleged new info about Celeste's final hours has surfaced, and if even half of it's real, it could flip this whole story upside down. Something about Celeste's situation never felt right. The timeline doesn't match up. David's team's reactions feel off. And since canceling those tour dates, he's gone completely ghost. Law enforcement may not be calling him a suspect yet, but everyone sees what's hiding in plain sight. David was mixed up with someone who wasn't of legal age. That's not just scandalous, that's serious. That one
are driven to that spot, and with the dates, with the date that it was, and they left town right after that. I'm certain that's the last time the car was driven. It was put there with her, in the front trunk.
And there's one weird detail about what you could, well, there's a lot of weird details, and I'm going to get to what you saw through the driver's side window in a second, but there was an air freshener that was found in the car at this point that we see on our screen, where it was abandoned. Was that air freshener also hanging from the rearview mirror when it drove off from David's house?
It wasn't, but the window was half to 3/4 of the way down, which is odd because it was a very short drive, and also at that on that day, this is the very end of July 29th, it was like 78 degrees at that time in the morning, or 77 degrees, and if it was on the street where the house is, so it's shaded by the house, so. If you're going to, I don't know why the window would be rolled down unless there's something, offensive there. And then all of a sudden.
Celeste's family hasn't said a word. Not a single interview. Not a single post. But that silence, it's loud. It's the kind of quiet that means something's being built carefully behind the scenes. You can feel it. Every move feels strategic. Like they're stacking receipts, lining up evidence, and getting ready to drop something massive. The whole internet's watching like it's a slow-motion explosion waiting to happen. And let's be real. If this was just a big misunderstanding, wouldn't someone have cleared it up already? Where's the proof? The statement? The apology? Anything to stop the chaos? Instead, we've got nothing but thick, eerie silence. And that kind of quiet usually means one thing. Something big's coming.
covered. We don't have any of her at that property. We have pictures of her and that were taken by David, we assume, because it's not on a camera phone, but these photos are on a regular camera at different locations. And it really makes me think that it's likely she had another place she was staying. I can tell you that there was a lot of time spent towards downtown LA. And I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd,
David's still playing mute. No interview, no post, not even a simple RIP anywhere. And that's wild because, according to multiple sources, Celeste wasn't just some fan. She was his girlfriend. So how do you stay that quiet after losing someone that close? The lack of emotion has people staring hard at this situation, and the vibe isn't good. Sure, maybe he couldn't attend the funeral. Fine. But silence speaks too, and right now it's screaming louder than words ever could. Then, out of nowhere, things got crazier when a private investigator stepped into the picture, Steve Fisher. And when he finally spoke up, he didn't sound like some random clout chaser. He sounded tired, like a man carrying something heavy, something he's been dying to say. According to Fisher, after digging for months and combing through every piece of evidence, he found nothing confirming Celeste was ever seen at that property everyone's been obsessing over. No footage. None. But what he did find was even stranger. A stack of photos that looked like they were taken by David himself. Not on a phone, but with a real camera, in totally different locations.
Add up with their Discord messages of her complaining about her parents and him saying, "Don't worry, I'll fix it." And the other crazy thing is that people found this comment on one of David's videos back in 2024 where someone named Robin River said he's waiting on the cops to get David for messing with minors. This is long before many of us knew about him and Celeste would be around 13 at that time. Since then, his account has blown up and people are waiting and hoping that whoever this is gives us some answers. Rest in peace to Celeste. Let me know what you guys think, and as anything comes out, I'll keep you guys updated.
That one tiny detail flipped the entire investigation upside down. Fisher revealed that the photos hinted Celeste might not have been where everyone thought she was. She could have been staying somewhere else entirely, maybe near downtown LA. The last photo of her was dated January 2nd, 2025, and that single date changed everything. It didn't line up with the original timeline that had been pushed to the public, and suddenly, the whole story started cracking apart. What everyone believed about Celeste's final days stopped making sense. Then, like clockwork, Reddit detectives jumped in, turning the case into a full-on digital crime thriller. A thread titled, "Proof David Rented." His first place in Hollywood while still renting Celeste's secret hideout exploded online. It claimed David had been leasing 2 spots at the same time. One in Hollywood and another one suspiciously close to where Celeste's body was later found. That's when people started asking hard questions. Why wasn't that second place ever searched? Was that where Celeste had been staying when David was out on tour? And how come nobody mentioned this before?
100% happened here. At minimum, it's the concealment of a body, right? So we know somebody did that. Hopefully it's not, a mutilation. Hopefully those initial reports were wrong about her being dismembered. But one thing I have to say, even though I talked about how we found some things that could have meant they had a really twisted plan in place to get rid of her, it never went in motion. So you can't charge somebody for a crime that they may have thought about doing. So, we may never know.
Then came the comment that froze everyone. Look at that date. He got rid of it in March. Boom. A whole new wave of theories hit the internet like a storm. Folks started piecing together a haunting timeline. Last photo of Celeste in early January, total silence through February, and then suddenly that property gets listed again in March. Too neat, too perfect. It felt like someone cleaning up loose ends. Piece by piece, the puzzle was falling into place, and every clue kept circling right back to David. One Reddit user dropped a line that gave everyone chills. It all just keeps looping back around. Even in his song, he says, "Don't run away, I've got a place you can stay." People couldn't shake it. That lyric suddenly felt like a message hiding in plain sight. None of this has been officially confirmed, but when you line up all the details, those January dated photos, the house being relisted in March, and those lyrics that hit way too close to home, it's no surprise people started connecting dots that maybe weren't meant to connect. Fans are analyzing every detail like detectives, and even with the wildest theories flying around, there's still one chilling fact at the center of it all. Celeste's passing hasn't been ruled a homicide. The medical examiner hasn't released an official cause yet, and police haven't named David as a suspect. But even with those facts on paper, the inconsistencies that Steve Fisher pointed out are impossible to ignore. Something about this whole thing feels off, and it's making everyone whisper the same question. What really went down that night? And when Fisher spoke publicly, everything changed. You could feel the tension shift instantly. He didn't say much, but his tone carried weight. It was like hearing someone describe something they wished they'd never uncovered. He hinted at signs of what he called a twisted plan, something that involved tools, steps, and even preparation to make a body disappear. That word alone, disappear, sent chills through everyone listening. Thankfully, whatever might have been planned never actually happened. But just the idea that it could have been considered, it's disturbing enough to make your skin crawl. Then came a theory that took things to a whole new level, not from Fisher, but from an online viewer whose post has gone viral. The person wrote, "I've been saying since the day after the news broke, before I even knew who this kid was, that the body was in the Tesla when he left for tour." That one sentence lit the internet on fire. The theory claims the tour was David's perfect alibi. The car was his cover. According to the post, someone else could have handled the car. Maybe a friend, maybe an accomplice, moving it or even dealing with what was inside while David was out of state. It's all speculation, sure, but the timing, the silence, the strange coincidences, it's got people talking nonstop. That theory's been circulating for weeks now, spreading across forums and TikTok threads like a courtroom debate. And nobody can decide what's scarier, how detailed it sounds or how believable it's starting to feel. Then that comment took an even darker turn, and the internet hasn't stopped talking since. The user claimed this was the most blatant, clear-cut homicide case they'd ever seen. They called the alleged evidence sociopathic levels of stupidity and narcissism, accusing David of flaunting his relationship all over social media and even in his own music, while still thinking he could fool everyone just by hiding Celeste's face under hoodies and purses. That post spread like wildfire. People couldn't stop reading it, breaking it down, arguing about every line. Some said it was pure conspiracy, but others swore it lined up perfectly with all the weird things David's done since the story broke. And honestly, if even half of what's being whispered online turns out true, this situation might be darker than anyone could have imagined. Even though none of this theory has been proven, the fact that so many people find it believable says everything about how twisted this whole story's become. It's not just about what's caught on camera anymore. It's about what's missing. The gaps in the timeline, the unanswered questions, the quiet that no one seems ready to explain. Every single day that passes without answers just makes the mystery thicker, heavier, and harder to ignore. And if this ever hits a courtroom, which it's really starting to sound like it might, those missing pieces could end up deciding everything. What's not being shown might speak louder than all the footage in the world. But what's really been making people uneasy lately is Celeste's real age. Sources close to David reportedly told investigators they had no clue she was underage. They said they thought she was a 19-year-old college student, someone who blended right into LA's nightlife scene. Celeste was known for showing up at USC parties, hanging around older crowds, and even being seen inside age-restricted clubs and Hollywood events. That revelation alone has left everyone shaken, because if what those sources are saying is true, it changes everything about how this story's been told. Eventually, law enforcement confirmed what everyone had been whispering. Celeste had multiple fake IDs. That's how she slipped into clubs, private parties, and circles way beyond her age. She was living like someone much older than she really was. And that's where the story turns painfully complicated. It blurs the line between innocence and control. Was she being taken advantage of, or was she chasing a life too fast for her own good? Either way, the ending was pure tragedy. Then came another twist nobody saw coming. Reports surfaced that David quietly transferred 2 of his Houston properties into a trust under his mother's name right as everything started to fall apart. And get this, one of those houses, It's the same address that got swatted back in September, when a fake 911 call sent cops swarming his family home in the middle of the night. Now sure, on paper, that could look like normal estate planning, maybe even smart financial timing. But to the public, it screamed damage control, like someone scrambling to protect assets before things went completely off the rails. And in this business, let's be honest, silence and sudden paperwork changes almost never mean peace. They mean someone's hiding something, or someone. And if Celeste's family really moves forward with a lawsuit, the shockwaves could be massive. The label might not be able to dodge this one either, because if it turns out they knew anything and chose to stay quiet, that's not just bad PR, that's straight up negligence. And once negligence is proven in court, there's no press statement, no apology, no PR spin strong enough to clean that up. At this point, the public doesn't even seem angry anymore. They just look tired. Tired of the silence, the secrets, and the feeling that the truth is still being buried right in front of them. People are drained. Every new update feels like ripping open the same wound all over again. The public doesn't want mystery anymore. They want answers, not more silence. And as for David, nobody even knows what to say at this point. Once an artist's name gets wrapped up in something this serious, the music just doesn't sound the same anymore, no matter how talented they are. But here's where things take yet another wild twist. People close to the case are now saying that Celeste's phone records might hold the missing link everyone's been searching for. Allegedly, those texts and call logs could reveal exactly who she was really talking to in her final days. And here's where it gets eerie. Whispers online claim there are gaps, entire chunks of messages that mysteriously vanished right after January 2nd, the same date tied to that last known photo of her. That timing has everyone suspicious. Insiders say investigators have been quietly working with tech specialists to recover deleted data. And if they manage to bring those messages back, it could flip this entire case on its head. Some reports even suggest there were heated arguments between Celeste and someone from David's inner circle right before she disappeared. Not necessarily David himself, but someone close to him. That single detail added a whole new layer of tension to an already messy story. And now the public's completely divided. One side says David's being unfairly targeted, claiming the internet's just running wild with unproven rumors. But the other side swears there's no way all of this is coincidence. That there's just too much smoke for there not to be fire. Especially now, with evidence allegedly being shifted, properties quietly transferred, and witnesses suddenly going silent. Every move feels calculated, not accidental, like a perfectly timed strategy to keep the truth buried just a little bit longer. Now this is where things really start heating up. A leaked report started making the rounds on Twitter, claiming that someone from Celeste's family recently met with an entertainment attorney in Beverly Hills. Not a criminal lawyer, but a civil one. That detail alone set the internet on fire, with everyone thinking the same thing. They might be gearing up for a wrongful lawsuit. And if that's true, then David's team isn't just facing public judgment anymore. They're staring straight at real courtroom exposure. While that news was breaking, fans went into full detective mode. They started dissecting everything. David's lyrics, his interviews, even old cover art, looking for hidden meanings. Some people are saying his older songs hit different now, like he'd been confessing through the music all along, and nobody noticed until now. Whether that's a reach or not, the paranoia online is spreading like wildfire. Every new rumor, leak, and theory is turning this situation from internet gossip into a straight-up Hollywood mystery. Those songs that once hit deep, now they just feel heavy. You can't even play them without feeling that strange chill. Like every lyric suddenly carries something darker. It's haunting. Maybe it's the weight of everything that's come out, but people don't hear his music the same anymore. That spark, that admiration, it's gone. What's left is confusion, unease, and that eerie feeling that something broke and can't be fixed. Sure, he can drop new tracks, post emotional apologies, maybe even announce another tour. But once your name gets tied to tragedy, that mark doesn't fade. It sticks no matter how hard you try to move on. And now, every post, every lyric, every small move he makes is being replayed and torn apart 1,000 times online. The whole world's watching like it's the final act of a movie, waiting to see which direction this story goes. redemption or downfall. There's no in-between now, because the truth always finds its way out. It might take time, but it always does. And if that lawsuit really drops like people are saying, it won't just be David standing in that courtroom. It could pull in everyone who helped keep the silence alive. If that lawsuit really hits, it's going to crack everything wide open. The team, the label, and everyone who chose to look the other way. Nobody's walking out clean if this blows up. When secrets this deep finally crawl out into the light, they don't just destroy reputations. They expose how the entire system really works. And honestly, the scariest part isn't what's already happened. It's what's still coming. Right now, there's this eerie calm around David, like the silence before a storm. Everyone can feel it, that heavy stillness right before everything falls apart. Because if that rumored evidence drops, if Celeste's family finally breaks their silence, or if that unseen footage ever leaks, this story could explode in ways nobody's ready for. What's been loud online so far would look tiny compared to what's next. And no matter how much time passes, the truth doesn't fade. It waits. The songs, the fame, the polished image. None of that matters when the real story steps into the light. Once that happens, there's no going back. But what do you think? Is this really the end of David's career? Or can he somehow claw his way back after all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. It seriously helps the channel. And stick around, because the next video popping up on your screen is going to be wild, packed with even more shocking celebrity drama you do not want to miss.